Hi, this is Mark Roemke with Pathways Dojo and Ninjas in Nature, and this is a part of our Ninja Mentoring Series. I wanted you guys to be able to check us out at pathwaysdojo.com and ninjasinnature.com, and we're going to go over the story of how I got into martial arts, the beginning. So check this out, and I hope you enjoy it. And so what we wanted to go over today with you guys is a story of how I got into martial arts. And so I grew up in a neighborhood in upstate New York, and our neighborhood had a bunch of kids in the neighborhood. I mean, every house we knew who they were. But I was kind of one of the younger kids in that neighborhood, and there was a bunch of older ones, and they'd like put together flag football games, or they were supposed to be flag football, but you'd end up getting pushed into the pavement and bushes and all that stuff. And I got into a bunch of little scraps with people here and there, and I just wasn't holding my own, and I was getting tired of it. So I was about 7 years old, and I was like, I want to do martial arts, because I'd seen like a movie at a friend's house of Bruce Lee, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what that is, but I want to do that. And so he was smaller than the guys on the movie, and he was like handling them, and I was like, that's pretty cool. So I went to my parents and I was like, hey, I want to do martial arts. And my parents were kind of not into it at first. They were just like, oh, do sports or whatever. It just didn't like fit for them with their religious beliefs a little bit. And so what I ended up doing was going to a martial arts school down the street, and I talked to the head instructor there, and he said to me, well, it's like, I think at the time it was $19 a month. And I was like, oh man, that's a lot of money. I don't have $19 when you're 7, you don't have that much. But I was like, I could probably mow lawns and like stuff like that. They wouldn't let me get a paper route yet. I tried already. But he said, okay, I'll let you vacuum and clean windows and stuff like that. If you do that, I'll let you start to train. And so that's how I started training, was doing a trade with my instructor. But one of the things he said to me after I'd been there for a few months is he said, well, I can tell you really like this and that you have commitment. And so what I'll do is I'll make you a promise. If you stay with us and you become a teacher someday, you have to give back to the other people. So I will keep your rate at a discounted rate, because he started to charge me later on, but you have to teach classes. So by the age of 10, I was already teaching kids classes, and then he started me to start teaching adult basics. And one day this adult came in, and I'd been training 3 years then, and he was like, I'm not going to get trained by a kid. What does a kid know? And so my instructor said, well, put on your sparring gear and let's see how this works out. And so he goes, don't hold back, you can unleash on him. And so we had a nice sparring match, and at the end of the sparring match, the adult was like, okay, he can be my teacher. And so it was really fun because I was a little kid, but I really paid attention, and it really taught me how to defend myself, how to have confidence, how to have integrity, how to have follow-up. Like, I would show up before time. I would make sure to clean up. I would, wash windows, vacuum carpets. I would make sure all the drinks were stacked. And it was just such a good thing on so many levels. And I learned how to interact with, like, my first interactions with adults on an adult level, where it wasn't them talking to a kid, but it was more like a peer type of thing where we were doing an exchange back and forth. And so this is really where my career with martial arts started. And then I started to look at other martial arts and look at different things with that. And it just became unbelievable, because I started studying more than one martial art. And it was like I was insatiable. I was like training 7 days a week. I made stretching systems and ways to train at home, and I'd put on music and just work out. And I just had this thing in me for martial arts. It was like I had found my like calling that, like, ancient calling inside of you. When somebody finds that calling that's been like the one that was kind of destined for them, it's like you know it. And like I loved to run and do other things, but I was never really good at ball sports and stuff. For some reason, they didn't click for me. But martial arts, it was like I was on fire and just completely became awake. And so that is kind of like how I started to get into martial arts and my journey that began with this. And it's just been an incredible journey so far, and all of the different ways that I got to get into different things, and how I found other martial arts, and how I was like, oh, I didn't even know there's martial arts that use ancient weapons, and there's martial arts that teach this and that, and it just became so much fun and so good. So this explains a little bit about my beginning in martial arts and kind of how I started to go into it. But we're going to do another episode. On episode 2, I'll teach you how I started to find ninjutsu, and how I found the ninja, and how that training began, and how I was introduced to the Grand Master Hatsumi, and then kind of how we started to tie this into outdoor activities, and how we got into friction fires and debris shelters and all knife throwing, archery, and all these other things. So stay tuned for episode number 2. You'll have a little fun with this one because the ninja story was really a fun one, and I got to have some amazing mentors along that way. So this is Mark Roemke with Ninjas in Nature and Pathways Dojo. This is our dojo mentoring series, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you need any more information, check out pathwaysdojo.com or ninjasinnature.com, and go on there and you'll find out all about our new programs that we have. We have a study at home course that is amazing. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.